Alright, son. So today, got a lot on my mind, but no ultimate words of wisdom that I can think of right off the top of my head. So, what we're going to do today, this is all about power, right? This is a 4-liter straight six. It's a Jeep. This particular Jeep is my YJ. My son's YJ is just like it. He's 14 years old. We're going to build this. And when he turns 16, he will have touched every nut and bolt on that vehicle. So, we're going over my vehicle first. Sorry he can't be here right now. It's beyond any of our controls right now. So, two things we're going to focus on today. I've got new plugs, wires, cap, and rotor. We're going to go over this. And then I got new positive and negative batteries, or battery terminals that we're going to put on here. Because I've cobbled these together from when I got it. And this is one of those ultra cheap, janky ass battery terminals on both of these, because the other ones were all roached out. And and then if we have enough time, you see I have a double battery system here, and I did get a battery relay kit that will let me start the vehicle, and while the vehicle's running will charge both batteries. And then my accessories like my radios, I got a ham radio, CB, GMRS radio in here. That'll run off of here. Eventually I'll have a winch, so this will be the winch battery. And then I probably won't be going out night crawling and all this stuff. Where's my phone at? So let's see what you're talking about. Yep, there we go. But if I ever feel like accessorizing that much, accessory battery will do. And this is an old Optima deep cell. And it's not really meant for starting a vehicle like this. This is meant to throw a lot of amperage really quickly. This is more deep cell, so it's lithium, or not lithium, but one of your standard lead acid batteries. Anyways, primary focus, plugs and wires. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we're going to sit there, we're going to notice how these are. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've never done it on this Jeep, so the only thing I've heard about, take my watch off, the only thing I've heard is that number 6 is challenging to get to. And we'll worry about that when we get there. First thing we need to do, though, is map out where the plugs go in relation to the top of the distributor cap. So I'm going to go ahead and find something to take notes on, or if in the process of this move, I've misplaced my Haynes book. And I guarantee that this is in the Haynes book. You can also get Chilton's, and you can do YouTube. That's one misconception that I don't think it's an honest misconception. I don't think people are trying to convince you otherwise, that they know everything about a vehicle. But I guarantee a lot of folks, when they make their YouTube videos, demonstrate that, you know, they're like, okay, we're going to replace this part, bada bing, here's how you replace the part, and so forth. Behind every one of those scenes is probably quite a bit of looking things up in a book, tech manuals, online, other resources. You know, and they're doing that for brevity's sake, and also because they have a channel to maintain. I get that. I'm here to teach you, though, and one of the teaching aspects that I would always like to point out is to reference out the appropriate materials. You see my cat getting up on the engine bay. She's going to help out today and track grease into the house after this. What? You getting jealous that I'm talking into myself? What we're going to be working with, this is all ordered off Quadratech. They don't sponsor this channel, and I guarantee they don't even know it exists. But it's plugs, cap, rotor. You'll get to see what the rotor is, and spark plugs, which I'm a little annoyed about the spark plugs because 2 of them came loose in the box. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use the cardboard in the box here to take notes on placement. Cardboard boxes in vehicles, vehicle maintenance, they're handy for many reasons. You have a place to put your tools, you have a place to put your notes, you have a place to put your other parts. I'm going to go ahead and get these out of the way. I don't want to knock them down on the ground. All right, so first things first, we're going to note the position of the wires. So I'm going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. With this being forward, this being the rear of the vehicle. This may not be the, it may be reversed in the book, I don't know, but this is what we're going to do because all we have to do is map port to port. So we can shake this one loose, free, first, for number 1, and we see that it goes into this position. So this is pretty much like the 5 o'clock position as it's oriented. So I'm going to go ahead and orient these. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we see number 1 goes to the 5 o'clock. 2 seems to go to 1 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and put that up here. 3 goes to 9 o'clock. 4, wait a second, 1, 2, 3, where is 4? Here it is. 4 is a shorty. 4 goes to 3 o'clock. 5. I'm gonna move my light here so I can see back there. I'm gonna just move all the crap out of the way. We can definitely see 6. 6 goes to 7 o'clock. So that would leave 5 going up to 11 o'clock. Alright, that's mapped. And just to verify, 5 goes to 11 o'clock. We'll pull this back out. And yep, there it goes, right there. You can see it just plain as day. Trace that. Wait a second, am I right? No, actually, I got that completely wrong. So, good thing to double check there. 5 is the one that goes down to 7 o'clock. Oops. So, we'll go ahead and mark this one X. 5 goes to 7 o'clock. 6. 5 does not go up here, so we're going to X this line out. 6 goes to 11 o'clock. Measure twice, cut once. Alright, good thing we found that out. The center one is going to your coil. Your coil, let me get the light out of the way here, is this thing right here. This is the energy, where all the energy is shot into the distributor. I'm just going to go ahead and, since we have all these mapped out, I'm going to go ahead and remove all these. The batteries are already disconnected, but whenever you're working with anything dealing with electrical on the vehicle, it's a good practice to unplug the battery. In this case, the battery probably wouldn't have anything to do with anything, just because the ignition's not on. But always be safe than sorry. These plugs are not in bad condition, so I am going to keep them as backups. Right? They look like they're in good repair. There's no splits, cuts, or tears in there. The rubber is still pliable. So I am going to keep these as backups. Because you never know, I might do something boneheaded and I will burn one of these or whatever through, you know, making a mistake. Or we could be out in the woods and one of them goes bad, and I will have these as a spare. If they feel like they're dry rot, they look like they're dry rot, there's any kind of splits whatsoever in any of these things, get rid of them. You know, they're consumable items. You know, which means that these are part of your regular maintenance on a vehicle, so you're going to replace these occasionally anyways. Typically, you know, I go through the manual and find out when you should replace these. It really depends on the mileage though for me. You know, I'll probably typically replace everything, the caps and wires and stuff like that, you know, roughly 30,000 miles, which is a few years for me. I only, at best, drive like 10 or 12,000 miles a year. You know, especially since I work from home. Come on, there we go. Since I've been working from home the past few years, that's bright. I have driven significantly less than I normally do. And since I'm retired out of the Guard, I don't have to drive to the state headquarters regularly. That's cut down a lot of miles. And then with COVID, I've driven even less than I normally do. I think I've been to the grocery store like 4 times in the past 5 or 6 months. So, boy, that one's snug. Get the wiring harness right in the way. Kind of pinch between the oil. Oh, that's the transmission. And kind of pinch between these two. Feature plans on this engine is that it definitely has a knock on the bottom half of it. I need to get some Lucas treatment in there. For now, I'm planning on going to LKQ and picking up a couple $100 engine, rebuilding it, doing an engine swap, and then rebuilding this one after this one's nice and refreshed. Put in my son's vehicle, and then we'll rebuild a third 4.0. And then, since we have 2 Jeeps in the family, we'll have a backup. If I ever get creative and crazy like I'd like to do, there we go. I'd like to swap this thing out for a diesel. That's not going to be on the books for a year or 2. Gucci. All right, back to the show. So you got the which plugs go to which port on the distributor. This again is the distributor. The rotor is underneath the distributor. We'll show you that. Essentially, there's a gear that goes down to the oil pump all the way up to this that spins along with the engine. And then on top of that is the rotor. And the rotor is going to go through here and make contact with all these things. And when it makes contact, electricity coming from the coil going to the center pin here is going to make contact with this pin, which is going to shoot a bolt of electricity down to the wire, right? To the plug, I mean, not the wire. The wire is the conductor, or the media in which the electricity flows. It's going to go to the plug. Plug throws a spark into the cylinder, and then as it heads almost at the very top, and the cylinder comes up, and there, the gas air mixture is compressed in there, and the spark goes up, and it shoves that cylinder back down. And that's how an engine generates engine power. Just little explosions shoving those down, and makes the crankshaft spin. Hazel, you gonna help, or are you just gonna yell at me? You're gonna be over here backseat driving? Is that what you're doing? Okay, next we're gonna take off. We'll do the spark plugs first. So let me go ahead and get a spark plug socket. Be a good fit on these. Generally speaking, spark plugs are standard 5/8. A lot of times when you buy kits of tools, they'll have a specific spark plug socket in there. It's got a little rubber gasket in there to kind of grab onto the end of the spark plug. It's a deep socket, so you can put it on there. It's perfect. Well, we're talking about tools, which I wasn't talking about tools except for the socket. When we're talking about tools, one thing you should always do is buy quality tools. Always buy quality tools. Why is that? Well, first you want the reliability. Second, a tool, if properly maintained, just like anything else, will last a lifetime. Let's take a look at that. Number one. Well, that nub, I mean, the cylinder looks like it's burning nice and clean. maybe even a little lean, but nice and clean. And that nub in there is really short. Let's get another spark plug to kind of compare. I unfortunately can't find my gapping tool, but if you look at the gap, hopefully you can see this. If you look at the gap on the new spark plug between that electrode and the cathode up here, or the drain, where the spark's going to go, is pretty much a ground. How small that is. And then look at the gap on that one. So this is an older one. It looks like that cylinder's burning just fine. The gap is that electrode's just been worn down a little bit, and that's why we're replacing them. Is that's worn out. We want the spark to more effectively and more efficiently transmit to that fuel air combustion. On tools, though, one thing you boys have to learn is don't waste your money on things. We live in such a consumer era that we're like, everything's use it once and throw it away kind of thing. I can't imagine how much money over the course of a lifetime you waste by buying cheap stuff, throwing it away, and then replacing it with cheap stuff. When you're tightening down a spark plug, by the way, you only snug it down. You do not wrench it down in there, because you don't want to have to. If you break that spark plug in there, you're going to be pulling the head off. Worst case scenario, you get it out and clean out the cylinder. But see how easy that was to break off? So whoever put the spark plugs in this knew what they were doing. And that's a nice thing. They did a good job. On the tools, though, I'm just buying stuff. Buy quality things that are going to last a long time, right? Okay, let's look at this. Same story. It's burning clean. Electrode's worn down pretty good, but other than that, there's no excess carbon buildup. There is no oil on that. That's good. One of the things that you're going to learn going through life is that hindsight's going to make you feel guilty about the decisions you made in life. So listen to the people that have been through things. You know, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily right all the time, but even if you don't, everybody has something you can learn from. Even the guy that you don't like, the girl that you don't like, the politician or whoever it is that you don't like, they're going to have a nugget of wisdom in there that you can take away. So you should never discount anybody just fully. There's a few people you can, but you'll find those people. You know, those are the people that you find that are completely, wholly untrustworthy. But to be honest with you, like in my 45 years, there's only like 1 or 2 people that fit that characterization of my life. So they're rare. Okay, a little snug down. You saw how I did that inside. I wasn't putting a lot of torque on it. So just snug. One of the things that you don't want to have hindsight on, if you can help it, is how much money you've blown on stupid shit. I find myself, or I have found myself, and I still do it occasionally, and I catch myself because I know what I'm looking for now, is that you get in this mental funk. You know, the last mental funk I was in was when I was married, and it was probably the loneliest time of my life. And yeah, same thing, same story on number 3. Worn down electrode, no excess carbon, no oil. So I was in a funk for years because, you know, like I said, I was the loneliest I'd ever been in my life. Because I just chose a bad woman to be with, and she didn't care about anybody but herself, and that became readily apparent after about 9 months of being married to her. It was apparent before that, but I just failed to identify that. So that's on me. But I felt like I was locked in my house, couldn't talk to anybody, all this stuff, because it was just like I was surrounded by this woman. And I'm a fairly active, well, I haven't been the past year and a half, but I'm fairly active, love going outside, love traveling, love to be around my friends and family. And then I felt like I was completely separated from everybody. That's one way you can tell if it's a toxic relationship or not, is that she wants you to separate yourself from everybody But I compensated by buying stuff, you know, living through the hopes and dreams that I'd be able to use this camping equipment, this, you know, stuff. It's all it was, stuff. And I spent over the course of years probably thousands of dollars. The good thing was that since I've bought quality equipment that I really never even got to use that much, hardly at all, and most of it was in my own backyard, because she spent so much money, couldn't even afford to go camping at a state park, which is like $12 a night. Same thing on, well, we got a little bit of crud, but that's mostly outside. That's in the, it's not down there. That one's worn a little bit more than normal, so, but number 4 we're going to call it good. Anyways, I bought a lot of crap. The next thing is that crap also became kind of like a savings account because it was quality crap. So when I finally got rid of her, and then I realized what I'd been doing. I was trying to live vicariously through things as opposed to just going out and living. I sold all that stuff, and you know what? I didn't lose that much money. I lost a little bit, but it also funded my divorce, and that was nice. So kind of a weird way of saving money, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would probably recommend more to go and just save the money where it earns interest. You buy things, and that very rarely are you earning interest on a thing that you buy. It depreciates as soon as it's off the lot, you've heard, right? So when you buy quality tools, buy quality anything. When you buy shoes, buy quality shoes. And when the soles go bad, instead of just throwing them away, take them to a shoe cobbler and have a new sole put them on. I might. Yes, those guys still exist, and they'll still be cheaper than a pair of new shoes. You can buy a new pair of, say, I think they're Red Wings or something. They cost a couple $100. You're gonna spend $60 having them resold after a few years, right? Or you could spend a couple $100 to get a new pair and then get away or throw away the pair of boots that you finally got broken in and they feel comfortable, right? So keep the comfortable boots. Just put new tread on them. Tools will last you a lifetime. Buy quality tools, and they'll last you a lifetime. I still have tools. I'm in my mid-40s, 45 right now, and I still have most of the tools that I had, at least 75% of them, of when I think it was my 18th birthday. I was in the Army, and for my 18th birthday I ended up getting a Sears credit card. Had a $500 limit on it, and I went and took that and I bought one of those big boxes of tools, because I've always been a grease monkey. I like wrenching on vehicles. And I don't know about Craftsman now, but back then Craftsman had a lifetime warranty. Pretty quality tools, and they upheld that warranty. If I broke a tool, I could take it into a Sears store and they would replace it without question. Where am I at? I'm on number 5, and I got a C number 5. I got a wire harness in my way. Ooh, that's bright. So that is number 5 right there. Number 5 looks very much the same as 1 through 4. So far, so good. These tools I bought, I plan on these tools, unless stolen or destroyed in a natural disaster, to last me the rest of my life. Do I expect to have a failure here and there? Absolutely, it happens. You're not going to buy something and nothing ever goes wrong with it. Chances are, unless you just put a plate on the shelf and don't ever touch it again. We'll use the wobbly on this one. Swivel joint, so it's got this little U joint in the middle, universal joint. Let's you swivel all around. These things can be kind of annoying when you, just because they can get hard to place because gravity wants to drive it down all the time. So you have to kind of compensate for that. Let me see what number 6 is at. It's down here by transmission filler neck. And it's got a piece of tape in the way. There it is. And we go ahead and and take care of your things, right? I want you to think of, like, you buy a tool, you buy a vehicle, buy a pair of shoes, right? Buy quality things. Is it going to be more expensive? Yeah, absolutely. Is it going to last you longer? Absolutely. I still have a pair of Doc Marten boots that I bought in, I guess about 96. It's about the time I moved to Germany. And those things I've probably walked 15,000 miles on them. I still haven't gotten them resold. You know, I kind of use them as my work boots now. I should, I've thought about replacing those, or replacing the sole and refurbishing them. Hey, number 6 looks good. Same thing. We got a clean burning engine. Nice. So, if you want to save yourself tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years, buy quality. Buy quality and maintain it. I have known a couple people that buy quality and don't maintain it just because they have the money. They're single guys and they don't respect the money they made. I watched a guy, he used to be my best friend, accidentally throw a pair of Ray-Bans away. We were out eating. He threw a pair of the Ray-Bans were on the tray at this cafeteria we're at, and he accidentally threw them away. And I was like, he's like, oh crap, I threw my Ray-Bans away. He probably spent $100+ on these sunglasses. And I was like, well, just get in there and get them out. He wouldn't, because he didn't want to get his hands dirty. He's like, well, they're in the trash. So I'm like, well, you know, just, we got a bathroom we can wash our hands in. You know, wash the Ray-Bans off in, wash your hands off. And he chose not to. Long story short, though, I reached in there and grabbed them. You know, because those food court trash cans, all you do is pull the front door open and slide the trash can out, and they were right there. You know, can't be afraid to get your hands dirty. If you're not afraid to get your hands dirty, on the topic of money, you don't get your hands dirty, and generally speaking, people will throw money at you because they don't want to get their hands dirty. That's any profession. You could go to college, throw yourself into debt until you're 40. So you spend 18, 20 years paying off your debt. And in the meantime, you start out making $50,000 a year. Or you could learn a trade. Go to a trade school, you know, for 6 months. You know, these HVAC, like my fiance's ex-husband, she's not frustrated, but you know, she is kind of frustrated at times. He went to trade school for HVAC, 6-month trade school, and he makes as much as I do now. You know, did he start there? No, but his progression was really quick because he had experience in the military and all this, and experience from other career fields that he went into leadership programs very quickly. And he also, he had leadership experience that helped him get promoted quickly. And then he also found a mentor that helped him along quite a bit. So, you know, the normal HVAC guy, I don't know how much they make, you know, but for a single guy, I guarantee it's a living wage. And then he's managing, you know, 20 guys across half the state or whatever it is. And he makes as much as I do, right? So he went to school for 6 months. I went to school for 6 years, 5 years actually, but still, for a master's degree. He makes as much as I do. Imagine over the course of that time how much he hasn't had to pay in student loans, how much I had to. You know, how much extra money he could just spend on or save that I couldn't because I was paying off student loans. It's probably $500,000 over the course of 15 years or more. So in that regard, you know, I did what I was told I was supposed to do. Go to college, get smart. I was already smart. I was smart enough to do anything I needed to do. Taking off the distributor cap now. But, you know, just like many guys in my generation, we drink the Kool-Aid and we didn't question, we didn't dissent, we didn't really do that much about. We're like, okay, well, if we want to be successful, and plus I know a lot of folks that have master's degrees, they're not that successful, right? I've used every skill and ability I have as promoting, when I promote myself. And so that's all a master's degree is, or bachelor's, or any degree. You get an associate's degree, you know, I mean, you can get an associate's degree in nursing and be a nurse. Now, are you ever gonna be a highly paid nurse? Generally speaking, no. You'll get a living wage off of it, but you can still do things like be a travel nurse and make as much as I do traveling, you know, in these 3-month stints. All right, so we're gonna look at the orientation. This thing has a plug. This is how I pulled it off. I'm just gonna set this right here to remind myself of the orientation. And this is the rotor. This rotor here is what connects to the shaft down here, spins around, and makes contact with these little contact points in here. Very simple device. All it is making a circuit from the center pin that goes from this pin here. It goes to the coil. The coil is energized, shooting electricity down here, and that's this thing right here spins around, makes contact with these little points, and at that, you know, electricity travels at the speed of light. So it's just creating a circuit. It creates 6 circuits constantly in a rotation. We just pull that off. See how that's keyed? It can only go in one way. We're going to remember this is oriented down just in case the other one's a bad rotor. It's right here. All right. We see that this is keyed the same way, so we know that this is going to go straight down there. It just sets down on there just like so. First, we're going to just compare these two parts, make sure that they look like they're the same size, same contact points. This rotor doesn't look like it's in terrible condition. Alright, that's on there. Go ahead and pull this out of here. Remember how we had this one oriented here? Now we're going to have this one oriented here with this plug here. I'm sure that's just an evap plug, so if moisture gets in there, it'll, when it gets hot, it'll evaporate out of there. And go ahead and place this. This already comes with its own screws, so fingers trying to fit in there. Those are cross set. Great. Different type of screwdriver. 1 second. When you're tightening fasteners down, for instance, this is a plastic piece, right? This cap. When you're tightening screws down, don't over tighten things. You want things snug and tightened. This might be too big for a screwdriver. But there's no need to Superman wrench these things down, right? Do it snug. So, and these got retaining. So, I'm gonna go with the backup plan here. Cobble together a screwdriver. Chances are it's not going to go anywhere. And if you're worried about it, drive it for a while, a couple days, come back and see if it's still snug, right? I'm giving this about as much force as a firm handshake, right? So, all right, cap and rotor, plugs are installed. Now let's put the wires on. First, I'm going to put my tools away, which if you want to keep and maintain your equipment after you're done using them, put them away immediately. And that way, you're assured that you know that you've maintained accountability of your equipment. I've heard some folks say, you know, very rarely, but a couple folks say, well, just put the tools away at the end. It takes the same amount of time. Exactly, it takes the same amount of time. All right, put them away now, put them away later. You put them away now, then you've reduced the risk of accidentally kicking them across the floor. I should have probably put some silicone on this stuff. I don't think I have any. Let's see if there's any in the plugs. You run the risk of when things get in the way. You know, sometimes you're working on a job. I'm just gonna use little combs in there. That's cool. No silicone. So let me see if I have any. You run the risk of just kicking things around. And then next thing you know, the screwdriver that was right next to you is at the back of the vehicle somehow, and you're like, how the heck did it get back there? The world will never know. Well, that might be a deficiency on my part. I thought I had some little packets of silicone lube to put on those things, but I don't. I either misplaced them or I'm out. I'm thinking I'm out, and I just failed to remember to get that. As you saw, I put the old wires in here, except for this one. Let's put this one here. And because these look like they're in good repair, if I ever need an emergency set of spark plug wires, now I have an emergency set of spark plug wires, and these are known to work. So, because they've been working all along. All right, now my cardboard box with my schematic. Grid. Why is this schematic important? Why can't we just plug wires in? Well, you can. As you see, that's going in a circle as the engine spins, making contacts, but the cylinders don't fire bang, 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 bang. The engine needs to stay balanced, so usually two of them are kind of firing really close to each other. So you'll see number 2 firing here, and then 4. So it'd be 2 and 4 right after each other, and then it goes to number 1. Bam, right? And when we get to that part, onto an engine rebuild, because I'm going to have 5 engine rebuilds to go over the next couple of years. 2 tracker builds, 3 Jeep builds. We'll definitely see how that's important, because how the camshaft is kind of balanced and weighted that way. First things first, I plug in the coil wire here. Coil wire is what generates the electricity, or not generates, but sends the electricity. All right, now I'll organize these from longest to shortest. So I got 2 shorts, 2 mediums, 2 longs. All right, so I'm going to assume the long ones are for 1 and 6. So I'll do 1 and 6 first. I'll do 6 first because that one is the most challenging to get to. And for engines, this is not even that challenging to get to. I got a nice, good, solid connection sound. Snap. You know what? Put that on the wrong side. Put the cap side on the spark plug side. Spark plug side, it's got the long boot. It's a heat shield, rubber. Cap side, smaller, angled, supposed to sit on top. Clink. Okay. So get those right. As you see, I got to work around this transmission filler tube, which is directly in the way of this. So you gotta kind of try to bend this around a little bit to shove it down on there. I'll try spinning. That's a good trick. Here it's gonna go on there, period. All right. You can hear how it clicks on there. It doesn't take a lot of force. Hear that? That's what you're listening for. Okay, so we know this one isn't bent on the inside or anything like that. No, still no connection. Still no connection. We'll come back to number 6. The next long one, we're going to put on number 1 here. We see number 1 goes to the 5 o'clock position. It's going to be right here. I'm going to thread it through these combs. The combs do two things. First, they keep your wiring nice and organized, which is helpful for you, and it also shows your level of attention to detail. Right? You can tell somebody, even as simple as putting a bike tire on a bicycle, you can tell their level of attention to detail just by that. Okay, I'm going to go to number 2 next. Number 2, I got up in the 1 o'clock position. I'm going to select one of the medium ones. These combs and everything also help keep your wires off of the very hot parts, right? So this is like a silicone kind of cladding around the wire. Number 3 is a short one. So you want to just make sure to utilize your combs for what they are. Number 3 here we see goes to the 9 o'clock position. I'm going to go ahead and number 4 is going to go to the 3 o'clock position. So number 4 is another shorty. And then we see number 4 goes to 3 o'clock. And the point of cleanliness and attention to detail. Simple things like your wiring here. When you wire something up, even on a computer, you're building your first computer, runs beautifully, right? But you want to, when you're selling yourself for a job, friendship, whatever, you're trying to gain that trustworthiness. You want people to trust you. Well, people are going to trust you first and foremost by what they can see about you, right? They can see that you pay attention to detail. Number 5 goes to 7 o'clock. You're going to automatically gain a little bit more trustworthiness in somebody else's eyes when they can automatically witness how much attention to detail you put into something, right? If you put a good amount of attention to detail into, like, say, just your wiring on something, somebody's going to like, man, that's beautiful wiring. You know, they're going to say, man, this guy's going to go the extra mile, you know. And then, you know, so these little things, you can set yourself up for success just by saying, or just by demonstrating that I do attention to detail, right? I've run across a few resumes, for instance, when I'm hiring somebody. They say they have attention to detail, and I'll find a dozen misspellings in their resume. Bad grammar, all that stuff. Is it okay to have 1 or 2 misspellings and stuff like that, typos? Absolutely. It happens to everybody. Not a big deal. And sometimes you run into somebody that, you know, they don't use spell check, and I've run into one person, he's got dyslexia, you know. If I get a resume and they say that they have attention to detail, and it looks like they can't take the time to correct their own spelling on a document that they're using to sell themselves, yeah, that speaks volumes to me, right? Tells me things like, well, they're either putting their resume out because somebody told them to, or they expect to get the job because they feel that they're highly qualified. That's fine what you feel like. Doesn't matter though. It's how I feel. I got to spend money and for training you, and money for everything else to hire you, you know. And when you have a lot of competition out there, you have a lot of competition. It's as simple as that. All right. That concludes plugging in plugs and wires. I think that took a grand total of about an hour. And the engine bay is pretty. Go ahead and get rid of this box. Thank you, Quadratech.